Hello and welcome to the business interview here on France 24. I'm Markus Karlsson. Today we're talking technology and innovation. The tech sector is widely billed as a source of enormous potential, but competition is fierce and it's tough to stay ahead. The sliding fortunes of Nokia and BlackBerry maker Research in Motion are a case in point. The two mobile phone makers are seen to have been out-innovated by their rivals. How do you get ahead of the pack and how do you stay there? Well, for more on that, we can turn to Olivier Piou. He's the chief executive of the digital security firm Gemalto. Welcome to France 24.
Thank you, Markus.
Now, Gemalto, you're a big company, but you're not necessarily a household name. Consumers may not be aware of the fact that they're using your products. How would you describe your company and what you do?
So we are a software company. We put secure software into all sorts of objects that are familiar to you. You know, banking card, and many of you have a banking card, SIM card in your mobile phone, electronic passport when you travel, and secure USB keys, you know, some crypto calculators to do online internet banking, and also the software which is in the back office of the operators in order to supervise all those objects in the field. So most people don't know us simply because we are the technical operator behind a branded operator. They know the SIM card of Orange, the credit card of BNP Paribas, the electronic passport of the US government or the French government. They have no idea that this is a Gemalto technology inside.
But every time we swipe a credit card or we swipe a bus pass, for instance, we could be using a Gemalto product.
There is a good chance that it's a Gemalto product, Gemalto software, and Gemalto interaction to provide the security of those transactions.
Now, you said previously this year that you're expecting strong growth in 2012. Do you still stand by that, seeing the very difficult environment around us at this stage?
And not only we stand with that statement, but we believe that every single of our four main businesses, mobile communication, secure transaction, security for governments, and machine-to-machine, will grow both revenue and profit, because we are on very dynamic markets that are not really dependent on the economy. You know, we don't really care if you use a lot or not your credit card. What we want is that you have a credit card. We don't care if you use a lot or not your mobile phone. What we like is that you have a mobile phone. If you go back to the phone booth with a coin to operate it, yes, we would be in trouble. But how many people will drop their mobile phone and go back when they exit the plane to put a quarter in the taxi phone?
It's difficult to roll back the digital revolution, let's just say that. Now, where are you seeing your growth? In what part of the world? Because you're present worldwide.
Exactly. So we operate in all the countries of the world. We have 10,000 employees, but there are 100 nationalities. So it's a very international company. And we tend to capture the growth where it happens. So at present, most of the growth happens in Latin America, in Africa, in the US, in Japan, in Korea. And it's clear that Europe is kind of very much slower. But, you know, in my experience, there was always a part of the world that had some type of economic trouble. It used to be the Asian crisis, the Argentinian crisis. 2 years ago, it was the US crisis. Now it's Europe. So we are geared and very structured in order to be agile and deploy ourselves where we are requested.
Now, there's a lot of opportunity in the technology sector, as I said in the introduction, but there's also a lot of pitfalls. And we are seeing companies like Nokia and Research in Motion, just some of your colleagues, at least in the high-tech sector, they're in trouble because they've been sort of out-innovated by their rivals. How do you prevent that from happening?
I think the main point is to never become arrogant. You know, when you have success, you still have to be paranoid that there is somebody trying to eat your cake. And so keeping really pushing for new innovation, challenging yourself. It's not because you are the leader that you should stay idle and enjoy it. And I think, you know, we've seen, if you were speaking of Nokia, but before there was Motorola. Motorola became arrogant and was replaced by Nokia. Nokia became arrogant and has been replaced by Apple. And if Apple is not watching itself, it will be replaced by Blue Moon or Red Carpet or whoever will come.
So the key is always to look over your shoulder and be worried about the competitors behind you.
Absolutely. And also to always listen to your customers. There is, you know, there is nothing like a mature market. There is always unfulfilled needs of the customers, the question is to listen to them, to discuss with them, and to be ready to change in order to adapt to their requirements. So at the end of the day, there is no mature market. There is only mature managers or mature observers. But there is always change that you can bring, upsides that you can provide, and this is where we continue to challenge ourselves all the time.
If we talk then about innovation, what is your next big thing? What makes your heart tick at this stage when it comes to innovation within your company?
So we have several axes of growth. One is clearly around the mobile payment, everything that is the interaction between the mobile and the payment. So we have the good fortune to be at the interaction of the mobile and the payment industry at the product side and the service side. So this is a very hot spot in the market.
So for instance, when consumers use mobile banking on their mobile phones, you're the ones who provide the security software.
That's one side. This is typically what happens in developed countries. In developing countries, you pay directly mobile to mobile, and we have been rewarded by when some analyses have shown that we created more than one additional point of GDP growth in those regions of Africa which have adopted our technology, with yellow money, with MTN or orange money in the west part of Africa. Another path of growth is everything that relates to the cloud security. People put more and more precious data in computers, and the access to those data is important because you like the convenience that it provides, but these are precious data. They are your tax filings, they are your price list, your customers list, and so in order to provide the security, you need our technologies. Another angle is related to what we call machine to machine. Humans. So far, humans have been talking, with their mobile phone, but more and more you can use this technology in order to optimize all sorts of things. Environmental monitoring, for example, to have pollution sensors all over that will simply send their data over the air. Healthcare at home, because you prefer to be treated as soon as possible, go back to your home. It's much cheaper for social security and much more convenient for you. Plenty of new usages. So we are today at this intersection of several technologies, and we have more choices than we can take.
You talked about mobile banking there before, and that's something that attracted at least my eyes. It's very, very popular in developing markets. For instance, in sub-Saharan Africa, mobile banking. Mm-hmm. Do you think we could see similar growth in Europe as well, in developed economies?
So in developed economies, you speak more mobile financial services. People have a bank account. And so what you have is that the mobile becomes a new channel. You used to go to your branch office, then you used to use the internet, and now you will use the mobile. Whereas in developing countries, you're leapfrogging all these technologies because you will not have branch offices at every corner of every dirt road. And it's probably not very desirable for the environment to build them. You probably don't have the internet with wired as we know it with the ADSL. So you go directly to the mobile. And with our technologies, you can pay directly and get the basic banking functions, savings accounts, loans, etc., things that we are very familiar with, directly on the mobile. So even though everybody calls it mobile financial services, they are of very different nature if you are in a developed world or in the developing world.
If we go back to the developed world, politicians, they often say that high tech in the technology sector could be a real source for growth, especially here in the Eurozone, which is going through a tough time, to say the least. Do you think then that, for instance, European politicians, are they doing enough to encourage growth within the technology sector?
Sometimes they are not very familiar with these technologies, and to their credit, they have to handle all sorts of problems, from social problems, defense problem, etc. So the technology of the digital economy is sometimes a little foreign to them. I think there are two main angles that are important. One is that with our technologies and the digital e-government, you can reduce the expenses and provide more services to the citizens. So not only the citizens get access to the e-government services 24/7, as we all expect, we serve the web 24 hours, 7 days a week, So you can do the same with government, and it costs cheaper. It's much cheaper, and it's also very socially acceptable by the civil servants, because everybody understands that the web is the progress. So that's one side. The other side is the digitalization of the economy, the fact that you can interact with each other, have digital signature law, and mechanisms that simplify, if you want, all the paperwork. And this has created jobs. 25% of the French economy, new jobs, are from the digital industry. So it's simply avoiding to put complexity, making sure that there is a policy that is supportive, and letting the entrepreneur
work.
What
are those policies that you say need to be supportive? What exactly are those policies?
Simply encourage, and because the entrepreneurs of the digital economy in France, they are all ready to start. Offering their services and their product over the web in order to sell overseas, is an easy way to boost the export without having very complicated systems. Providing those innovative services like parallel games where you have thousands of people playing together at the same time. This is typically a strength of France. So what you want is to play on the strengths and not try to defend the old guard of the industries of the 19th century. So
and there's a risk that they have been doing that, or you say that they've been doing that so far?
When some industries or some sectors are in difficulties, they tend to complain a lot. And also because they are old, they are very entrenched with lobbies, and they are very well represented at the government. Whereas the new economy, is spending its time building itself, and it doesn't have the time necessary to go and lobby all the time. So I think what is important is that it's not because the digital services company don't show up to complain that they should not be simply encouraged and cared for.
All right, Olivier Piou from Gemalto, thanks very much indeed for taking the time to speak to us. You've been watching France 24 and the Business Interview. Do stay with us. We have more news coming your way soon.